Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Players Only Club, the week that was. We're going to be going through some of the events and topics that happen in the world of football and the Premier League in particular this week and give you our thoughts on it. So, the first thing we're going to talk about is Chelsea.
Talk is a vague word.
We're going over old ground on this a little bit, and when I say a little bit, I mean completely.
It's what he wants, making headlines every week.
But it's still going on.
It is.
Chelsea lost against West Ham, albeit playing slightly better. And then they lost to Stoke in the League Cup, playing quite a lot better, but they're still losing. What do you make of it?
Well, I've been reading conflicting reports, especially about players that are playing. And the big one this week for me is Matic. Okay, he got sent off on away into international duty. Didn't have a good week the game before. Came in against West Ham. There's something not going right. Of all the players, okay, some people aren't playing well. Fabregas isn't playing well. Ivanovic isn't playing well. Of all the people that I think there is a serious problem with, it's Matic.
Okay.
And it seems as though that Matic is now the problem area where that last year they got away with it playing with Fabregas next to him because Matic was being so good. However, Matic is being so bad this season, he's making also the fact that Fabregas in next to him look really bad at the same time.
Okay. So you don't think it's the other way around? You don't think Fabregas is
well,
making Matic
I don't think they're not helping each other.
Yeah, that's true.
Matic is the one that's meant to be blocking up in front of the back four. Fabregas is not doing his thing at the other end of the pitch. That's a completely separate topic. However, Matic is not protecting that back four, and he was doing it last year with Fabregas next to him.
Yeah, well, that's true. And you can argue as well, what's the two cards he got when he got sent off against West Ham were rash challenges, stupid challenges. And you've got to question what his mindset is while making those challenges.
Low on confidence, low on love, low on everything.
Yeah.
And then that has in turn spurred on to the headline maker himself, who got himself sent to the stands post sending off. Do
you know why? Did you hear how he did it or what he was doing?
I heard that he went to John Moss at half time and said Wenger was right, you are weak.
Really?
That's the one
because I heard that what he was doing was he was trying to talk to the ref, and they obviously not allowed to talk. He's actually got a ref fired before, I believe, by talking to them at the half time. You're not supposed to. And like him and his band of coaches were banging on the door, trying to talk as if it's some sort of gang violence. Yeah, it's unbelievable. That's crazy. That's completely unacceptable in any in any situation, apart from maybe making a movie. You can't be. There
is definitely going to be.
It's got to be a Mourinho. Yeah.
Clooney in the role of Mourinho.
That's perfect.
Too smiley.
We'll keep that on the download. We'll start writing.
And that one in the week. If you don't see us in a few weeks, that's why. We're off busy writing scripts.
Mourinho. Right. Can I...
you can go. I'm going to allow Jonny the floor.
What I'm going to do now is I'm going to break down for everyone exactly what Mourinho is doing wrong and why it's not even remotely a big deal that apparently Chelsea have been playing slightly better. Because the only thing that's crazy about it, in my opinion, is that Mourinho actually thinks we're playing better. Because as far as I can tell, Mourinho thinks defending is what's good. It's not about how well you attack, it's all about how well you defend.
He's always been a don't lose first.
Exactly. So I'm not sure if these are going to be in the right order, but I had to write some down so that I don't forget. So let's start with Costa. Right, we've got Diego Costa, who on his day is a fantastic striker. Last season, first 10, 15 games, he was brilliant for us. No arguing with that. However, recently it's clear to see that he's far more interested in being aggressive, starting fights and stuff, than he is in actually playing well. He's clearly not playing well. That's really obvious. Exactly. So Mourinho comes out and publicly defends him, which sounds like a nice thing to do, but it's not, because what it's doing is reinforcing that it's okay for him to act the way he's acting and not score goals, by the way. You have Falcao, right? Not a great signing, not playing particularly well, but did score for Chelsea, hasn't played since. Remy, last season, may have got injured. I haven't done my research fully on it, but scored every time he played for Chelsea. And then Costa's fit, not fully fit, but a bit of fit. Costa straight back in. stamps on someone, straight back in. It's all fine. Oh, he's the best player on the pitch. It's all fine. So he's harvesting this ethos that it's okay to play the way Costa is and not score goals. And most importantly, not score goals. It's okay for his striker to not score goals, which is ridiculous. Well, I think it is spreading around the team, but I think it's not the primary point. That's just the start. That's the tip of the iceberg, literally. It's right at the tip.
Cost for the wave.
So you've got that straight off. So that's a striking problem straight away, right? Now, recently we've also heard from, in defence, Terry, well, not Terry, it's not definitely Terry, but apparently with the Eva Canero situation, apparently one of the senior members of Chelsea did come up to Mourinho and say, you have to apologise. He refused, okay? It's fairly obvious that was John Terry. Supposedly that's come from within
hook at half time.
Yeah, that's yeah. So, well, that's what you'd imagine. That's, of course, this is all hearsay.
If you're putting the numbers together.
But it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Because it no, it definitely wasn't Ivanovic. Although we'll come on to Ivanovic in a minute. It's an interesting point. But that straight away is firstly Mourinho's arrogance and his stubbornness, and the general sort of a divide that was obviously immediately created within the club, basically. So there are people in the club who will be taking Terry's side.
Terry has more power than Mourinho.
I don't think he has more power, but I think he has some power, and I think
respect.
that's important. Yeah, I think there definitely will be certain people that didn't sit with.
He's definitely better mates with the players as well.
Well, yeah,
because, they're all within his peer group, as you think. He's been there the longest.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt that it's had an. You can see it's had an impact, but yeah, Captain need a legend. That's what they say about him. But well, I mean, the ironic thing is, it's like the first, as far as I can tell, it's like the first decent thing Terry's done, really, because that is what should have happened, and he's being punished for it, which is hilarious, really. So right now, so you've got this. At the moment, it's bad management from Mourinho because he's not man-managing very well at all, in my opinion, and not from Chelsea as a team's point of view to get the best for Chelsea FC. He's doing it for his own benefit at this point. So, let's move on to Ivanovic. Okay. And you brought up an interesting point today about how poor, I've actually written down poo accidentally, which kind of works as well, Bubba Rahman has been.
Yep.
And maybe the reason Ivanovic has been staying in all these games is because he didn't want to admit that we bought a £20 million player who was a load of rubbish. And in that instance, you're kind of like, well, fair enough, because Zuma's playing on the right now and he doesn't look very good on the right. So we're struggling from that point of view. But I think I've mentioned this before. Let's give Bubba Rahman a chance because he can't be any worse than Ivanovic. Ivanovic has been terrible for ages. And I don't know what Rahman is thinking when he sees Ivanovic play terribly and then only has half a bad game because he's not up to the speed yet.
Maybe he's a mom. Maybe he's only in there to bring down Chelsea.
Well, maybe that's happening a lot because that brings me nicely on to my next point, which is the way that Mourinho plays. And the reason that this isn't just me, I'm a Chelsea fan, by the way, if people don't know that yet.
Not Valencia.
Yeah, that one. Is that the problem with Mourinho has been, and was last season, that we didn't smash teams, okay? We didn't go to teams and we didn't tear them apart. We played methodically, we won 1-0, it was very boring, and you can check out my blog, www.theplayer'sonlyclub.blogspot.co.uk to read an article that I posted before Chelsea won the league that says there is a problem at Chelsea.
I've been saying you were boring for the second half of last season.
And it is a problem. So, but what happens is we have to play the same 11 players because 1-0 is too precarious to bring on new players.
Yeah. Well, you bring on Mikel was your.
Yeah, you bring on a Mikel. You don't bring on Schürrle. No. You don't switch your back four. Right. This is the point. We had Philippe Luis. Salah never gets a game. Cuadrado came in, never got a game. These players don't play. So we're playing the same players. In a way, that's good, but it's not for this reason basically, and that is that. With Philippe Luis, we would have been fine, but he had to leave because he wasn't getting any football whatsoever. So we've had to buy in another player for way too much money. Turns out he's not good enough, right? So that is a big problem. He could turn into a world beater, and fair enough. But I don't know why people are going to want to come to Chelsea soon. You know, you've got the core, and even though they're playing terribly, they're still not getting switched out. So that's definitely a problem. And the best managers will be able to switch their teams better because they'll be winning games comfortably, which is what top teams should be doing. They should be winning 3-4-0 and then getting all their other players on, getting the experience. Oh, bloody, he came on, he was brilliant, I'm going to start starting him. And so on.
Just example, Arsenal the other day got 3-0 up against Watford. Sanchez comes off, Ozil comes off, ready for Bayern Munich in the week.
Yeah, and then how did you do against Bayern Munich? Oh, you beat them. You beat them, it's interesting.
Comfortably. Well, not comfortably.
Yeah. And
comfortably without the ball.
You did what you had to do. It was a very good performance in my opinion. And also brings me on to my next point fantastically well. This is almost like it's rehearsed. It's not rehearsed. Yeah. So the other problem is he's got a defensive mindset. So like we say, he doesn't bring on more attackers. He doesn't change this one. He's got a defensive mindset. So we went to Old Trafford last season, right? Old Trafford or Manchester United being the name of the team where they play at Old Trafford. They're not the best they've been. They're still not the best they've been. This is the second game of the season where we conceded about 65% possession. We won 1-0, right? Can't really argue with 1-0. That's the problem. This is when I wrote that article, by the way, after this game.
This is the Bridge.
Was it at the Bridge?
Yeah, the Bridge. It was quite near the end of the season. You played Old Trafford, second game of the season.
Well, no.
No.
What Hazard scored? I think it was at Old Trafford. I'm pretty sure it was at Old Trafford. It doesn't really matter. The point is, we have a better squad than them. They didn't have a top squad. Yeah, exactly. Even now, we have a better squad, not based on this season. And last season, we had a much better squad. So for us to go there, and what Fabregas, Costa, Hazard must be thinking when Mourinho gives a team talk and effectively is saying, I know he's not going to say it in these words, is you're not as good as this team. They're better at keeping the ball than you. They're better at keeping the ball than you because of that man Mata, by the way, which I let go. I didn't want him. But apparently he's so good, I don't feel like I can take him on with my own team. Unbelievable. So you've all got to just defend and hope they make a mistake, which they did, to his credit. So suddenly you've got this ethos, you've got these creative players who don't know what to do. Suddenly we're like, okay, so we're not the best team in England, are we not? And people are going to start figuring it out, and that's really we've pulled that right into this season. You can see that now. We don't know what we're doing because we can't control games anymore.
As a team, everyone else has worked you out.
Exactly, and we're not controlling any games because we're too busy defending to actually try and go on the offensive. And it's fine to do that if you're not as good as the other team, but you've got to assess when you're better. Arsenal aren't as good as holding the ball as Bayern Munich. Nobody is. No. So when you play Bayern Munich, that's how you play. When you're Arsenal and you go and play Everton, say, even though Everton are good, you go and control the game because you're a better team than them. So his logic there is off. Okay. And while it gets results, it's going to unravel. Okay, so this leads to Fabregas, who's been my biggest problem this season.
Gone back around, Matic to Fabregas.
Well, yeah, exactly. So he's been really poor, right? And he didn't play yesterday, and apparently Chelsea played really well. Shocker to me. But it's not all Fabregas' fault, because I've realised something, that Fabregas, let's not forget that we bought a certain John Obi Mikel as one of the best young attacking midfielders.
Stole him from United.
Exactly, right? And what did we say to him? We said, you're sitting there, just behind the halfway line, don't go forward. And then what does everybody think of John Obi Mikel now? They think he's a pile of rubbish.
He's static.
He's static, he never sprints. Like, what's he doing? That is who Fabregas is now. Fabregas can't affect the game from where he is. He doesn't know what to do. Every time he goes forward, he gets told off. He does look like he's playing slightly better, to his credit, in my opinion, in the last couple of games. However, the problem is we are looking to our creative source, Fabregas, to be creative, and he can't be it because he's too busy trying to be defensive. And by the way, he's terrible at being defensive. Any manager can see that. He's not particularly quick. He's not particularly clever in defence. So
he's never been attacked now.
So it's yeah, exactly. He loves to slide in,
Well,
but it's like
he needed
it's like-
Gilberto there in his early days, so he never had to do it.
yeah,
And that's why Arsenal never won anything, because he was the linchpin of that team, and nobody replaced Gilberto or Vieira.
and Thierry Henry also said that Wenger sort of almost got under a spell of Fabregas, which maybe the same thing happened with Mourinho, is that Fabregas plays a game in the way that you want the game to be played, and that Wenger always thought that Fabregas was the catalyst, and maybe that was his mistake, that he never replaced the players around him that made Fabregas so good. And maybe that's what Mourinho's doing right now to an extent.
Went to Barca, played false nine.
Exactly, false nine. Exactly, and he was wicked. He was brilliant. When Messi wasn't playing and Fabregas took his place, he was genuinely achieving almost, not quite, Messi levels of scoring. He genuinely was. So we've got this other player, Loftus-Cheek, right? Which everybody wants him to play, right? I've mentioned him before. So the fact that he's not, what is really obvious is we need more energy, basically. We need more energy in midfield, okay? So we've got this obvious player, and the fact that he's not playing him is just, cannot be more of a sign of stubbornness than anything else.
Just as a side note, I think Chelsea, it's either Chelsea or City, but I think it's Chelsea, currently have the lowest percentage of English players playing in the Premier League.
And Mourinho said at the start or the end of last season, he said, if I don't bring these players in, it will be a failure. You've got the best chance to bring them in right now.
One of the most talented in the league. I mean, of the players that haven't. I mean, Arsenal have got 5 players, but they've all kind of broken through already. They're all first team players. Oxlade-Chamberlain probably being the last one of them. Yeah. And he's a first team player. Loftus-Cheek is the one in the country that you're looking at and saying, is he going to be a first team player? And he's only been given like 3 opportunities, and he's played really, really well in every single taken off at half time, which is nothing more than just literally spitting in the face of against Villa, who you should be beating comfortably anyway. Took him off for Matic or whoever it was. Yeah,
I think it was for Matic, who, he's been vilifying left, right and centre.
He's obviously got his own issues.
So he's obviously, that's really obvious to everyone. So there's obviously something going on where he doesn't even want to acknowledge that, which is a problem in itself. So we've got this whole culture now that he's got the wrong idea in his head. He's got an idea that worked before. He's not learning to adapt. He doesn't want to do things that people want him to do, importantly. And so the last point, Hazard. He's vilifying Hazard now, so he's just almost pushing the blame at this point. So he
can't have a luxury player.
He can't because he wants to and De Bruyne and Schürrle. So
3rd best player in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently, best player in this country, as voted for by everyone, players and pundits last season. Best player, and you can't have him as a luxury player. You can't afford one player to go and take the game by the scruff of the neck in the final third.
What does that say? What does Hazard think of that? We know what Hazard thinks of that because he's
liking posts from Real Madrid all over.
Yeah, exactly. So let's look at it all together. You've got a manager with an old system that doesn't work anymore, can't adapt, doesn't want to bring in new people, doesn't want to listen to what other people has to say, doesn't want to play a certain way that we know is more likely to get results, is going to push all the problems onto his best players, which is only going to cause them to play even worse, is going to tell them to play a certain way that they don't want to be playing, that isn't playing to their strengths. And I just think at this point, that maybe what we're missing is that Mourinho is so far down the rabbit hole, and maybe so many other people are, that he's forgotten that he can be wrong. Because a lot of people are, he's going to get it right. And it's like, but are you not watching why he's not getting it right?
He can't take any advice. He's being a stubborn old man.
Exactly. But I think other people are as well. I think there are people going, Mourinho's got to turn it around. It's like, and they say, he can't be fired because it'd be ridiculous. But it wouldn't be ridiculous because all you've got to do is watch what's going on and say, is he making the right decisions? And if he is, then you can say, okay, well, let's find out what else is wrong. Yeah. But right now, it's really obvious what he's doing wrong, or it should be. And if it's not, then keep watching this because this is everything he's doing wrong.
It's like, you won, but have you changed anything?
Yeah.
You've won, but have you changed anything?
Yeah, exactly. And this is the point. If we go to Liverpool on Saturday and we win, but we just play defensively, then we've learned nothing.
Still just as bad.
It's just as bad. If anything, and this is, I know a lot of Chelsea fans are going to hate me for saying it, if we play defensively, let Liverpool have the ball and just hit them on the break, then I would rather we lose the game. If we play well, then I'd rather we win the game, obviously, but I would be happy with a loss if we play well and actually take it to them, as long as we don't get completely dismantled, which would be a bit worrying and probably just ruin everything I've just said. Yeah. And I just think, maybe he needs to hear something like this and be like, oh, do you know what? I'm just something needs to click and he needs to go, I'm being an idiot. I can turn this around and it'll be fine because we know he's got the squad to do it. You should watch this because it's so frustrating. As a Chelsea fan, it's been so frustrating the start of this season.
Moving on.
That's just one bit. I apologise for taking up so much of your time.
If you're still watching, we've got other news.
If you're like a big Chelsea fan, you're going to think I'm the biggest twat in the world. But seriously, there's problems.
Moving swiftly on to, now that you've settled that one, Coloccini.
Red card rescinded.
Do you think it's a good decision?
I do think it's a good decision ultimately.
The FA have seen a bit of common sense, got it right. Sam Allardyce even came out and said shouldn't have been a red card. Penalty was enough.
And they're going to change. They're going to
now the changes for that red card or penalty for the last man. Should it just be a penalty?
Well, for me it's weird, isn't it? Because it depends on the nature of the foul,
which is what they're
saying. I think violent conduct, but then I also think a professional foul to an extent. Like, you could say it was a professional foul by Coloccini, but if there's a bit of malice, basically I'm not going to make any attempt to do anything other than foul you here. You can be like,
slightly change what a violent conduct is.
Yeah, because the thing is, in fairness to the ref, that is the rule, and Coloccini didn't have to make that challenge. And I think the problem is that he got sent off for what some would say, what might not have been a foul. And that's the worry. Sometimes if you get unlucky, you get sent off for that. But apparently they are changing it next year to you won't get a ban for a red card last man foul. So because it's actually missed the rest of the game, So it was a triple whammy, and now it's and they're going to move it to a double whammy. Yeah. But Newcastle are upset because they've got to pay a fine for moaning at the ref. And of course they're saying they don't want to pay it because they were right.
Their moans were correct.
But that's not the point of that particular fine. The point of that fine is to say you're not allowed to,
regardless,
you're not allowed to moan at the ref. So that's ridiculous from Newcastle, who don't really understand,
not getting away with it.
The sort of the rules that the FA have put down. Yeah. So and some commentators and stuff said the same thing, and it's just like no.
Pundits aren't really getting it right.
No, they're not.
Then again, you can't really control everything that's going on this season.
No, but it was annoying. It was probably a wrong decision. But you've got to show respect to the ref. That is what they're trying to get across the board. So ridiculous.
It's bye Sherwood.
Bye Sherwood.
Didn't really stand a chance, did he?
No, not when you're a terrible manager. What's your thoughts on Sherwood?
You cannot win in the Premier League playing all that attack. Or
exactly.
Trying to think that the club that you're managing is far superior to where it actually is on the perch.
100% his biggest problem.
Didn't have any perspective on who Villa were or the football they should try and play. They're a low-level club that should be defence first, attack second. Do what Stoke have done, basically. Look at Stoke. Pulis brought them into the league, played with a very defensive mould, has kept them in the league, kept them getting the financial resources that staying in the league gives you, and then they built on it.
Built from there.
Now they've got Shaqiri, Bojan, Arnautovic, Mama Biram Juve.
Love it. It's true, and he said one very telling thing was, we're doing our best and trying to play a swashbuckling way, by the way, and it's like, but you're losing all your games, Tim. So why are you playing a swashbuckling way? And there's a lot of talk about the fact that they're saying he's hard done by because Aston Villa's run really badly. And I did hear someone say, they sort of said, but the other thing is that he's quite a prickly character. Basically, he's not very he doesn't seem very likable. At least I don't think he's likable at all.
He's a bit of a he's a people's manager. A guy that put his arm around. And basically, he was living off the fact that he got Adebayor to play well last season.
Yeah.
The season before, and he brought the best out of Benteke when he came back last season.
Yeah.
However, you ain't got Benteke this season. You've not got a player that's out of form that you're looking to rejuvenate. You've got a brand new squad of players, which I also think is ridiculous. You know, you look at these so many moulds of teams that buy, and it never does well.
Yeah.
You know, it's obviously Spurs, the big one. You know, didn't do well. Yeah, he's gone and bought a load of players in the summer.
Yeah.
Obviously forced to, in a certain sense.
Yeah.
But you're not going to create a winning formula with a team that you need to start from scratch with.
No, I know, and I think that the owners will look at him and see that he's making Aston Villa look quite bad by, he's not very gracious in defeat. He's very I just don't think he's a great advert for the football club.
Villa are a big club. They've been in the top for a long time. They've won big trophies. They've got a lot of prestige and a lot of pride. They're a big club, but they've got a manager that wasn't treating them that way, or was treating them too highly. Thought they were Barcelona.
Thought they were much better than that, of course, and that just shows a lack of, sort of knowledge within the football managing sector in general.
It's all about now who's bringing the right guy. It's sad to see an English manager lose his job.
Yeah.
But if you're an English manager and you can't do the job, Sherwood really needs to go away and ply his trade somewhere.
He does. He definitely does, and he could really do with doing it at a big low club so that he can play the best football possible, because he's actually got the best players to do it. And just to anyone who thinks that he did well when he came in, and I know that he galvanised Aston Villa a little bit, but he really didn't do as well as they thought. He beat beat a terrible Liverpool side. They got battered in the FA Cup final, quite embarrassingly when you actually think about it, because they failed to challenge at all. And they lost 6-1 to Southampton in what could have been a must-win game. It was results went their way. They needed to win that game, and they lost 6-1 to Southampton. So I just thought he was a terrible shout from start to finish for many, many reasons.
Bad choice, Randy Lerner.
Yeah, who wouldn't expect to make a good choice, to be honest. There you go. On to Arsenal. And the Arsenal woes. Has it begun? I've talked about this. They proved me wrong. They've been doing very well.
The injuries are setting in.
They've lost midweek.
That's 9 players out or something now.
Is it 9 players? They've lost midweek, which I actually think is a bit of doesn't matter too much. I don't think Wenger wants to win the League Cup this year. I think he's going to focus more on the Champions League, in particular the league.
I mean, someone said to me earlier today, with the squad that we had out there, the team that we had out there, we should have won. However, you have to put into perspective, only 2 of the players that we had out there are playing regularly.
Yeah. I think I mean, you kind of feel like a Premier League B team, a top Premier League B team, should beat almost anyone, but in the league below. But there's also pitfalls that come with it.
Yeah, you've got someone like Giroud, who's in great form. However, if you can't give him the service, he's not going to score.
Yeah, and that's always been his problem.
When you lose your 2 linchpins, your 2 real good, pacey attacking threats, your Premier League quality, to do the transition from midfield to forward in Oxlade-Chamberlain and Walcott in the first 15 minutes. I mean, and you have to give all credit to Sheffield Wednesday. We know they played well enough for their win. They deserved it completely.
Yeah.
But when you lose those 2 players, you're always in for a tough night, and we're going to in for a tough couple of weeks. It looks like. So
it's the main ones are Ramsey, Walcott, and Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Walcott, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Welbeck, Wilshere.
Welbeck's still out, Wilshere's still out.
Ospina, Rosicky. That's how I got it.
So you're going to start with Giroud, which isn't the end of the world, and you're still going to have the bulk of your best team. Mertesacker was ill again, wasn't he, or did he play in the end?
Mertesacker was ill
on the weekend.
Played last night, but as this Gabriel's there. So
and you've got your defence still, and Czech's playing well.
Just who you play on that top right hand side.
Yeah,
that's the only place we're struggling. You would say Joel Campbell. I don't think he's good enough. I don't think he's going to be good enough against Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich. I mean, this weekend I think we'll be all right. Bayern Munich's going to be the real tough test without that Walcott pace to hit them on the counter like we did in the first half last
Sanchez
week.
is going to have to do a lot, and so's Bellerin.
Hope he's had a nice week off.
Yeah, I think
somewhere nice and not done anything. Maybe got even a little bit fat, so they can run it off.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the thing. It's you're not in trouble just yet, but this, as I've talked about, this is potentially where it's
banana skin time.
Yeah, exactly.
We do need to have the players
where
that aren't out for long to come back.
Yeah.
Ramsey, hamstring, a couple of weeks, should come back.
Should be fine.
Like Oxlade and Wilshere and Walcott, a couple of weeks, come back. We don't want
complications.
He's out for 4 weeks. 4 weeks go by. Oh, needs surgery.
Yeah, exactly. The old, he needs surgery.
Wilshere, how annoying. Right.
So
this is the one that I saw earlier. Klopp starting to make inroads, starting to impress, starting to get his team working the way he wants. He's had a good couple of weeks now. 3 draws on the bounce. Is the Klopp method going to really set in this week? He
says that he's getting it, is that right?
Yeah,
he's the one who's come out and said that.
Yeah.
So they got Chelsea this weekend, which is a huge game and almost impossible to call, in my eyes, based on the sort of position that the two teams are in at the moment.
Could the Liverpool pressing game be too much for Chelsea?
Well, yes and no. Yes, because Chelsea is starting to play the ball around quicker, which is good against a pressing game because it means you can, and we've got very good players who definitely can do that.
Yeah.
However, a feature of our season, we've been playing really slowly, and we've been playing very defensively, and that plays into their hands massively. And I don't know where this is going to go really at all. I really couldn't tell you how this. I just think almost that this is a typical game that Mourinho wins, and it just annoys. It'll actually annoy me, just because it's like a bigger game, and it's almost like the players are like, okay, no, we do have to properly defend against this team because they're half decent. Whereas you go to like a rubbish team.
You actually look quite good until the red card, and in theory the game actually could have gone either way.
Yeah.
You might still have won it with 11 versus 11. You never know, because you actually
exactly.
Better.
But when West Ham come or Swansea come or something, we're like, well, we'll defend a little bit, and we know that we have to, but we'll probably be all right, I reckon. And of course we're not, because Premier League's very competitive. Yeah. What would you do about that, buddy? Get Zoom running.
Okay. Unplayable.
How do you see it going? From a neutral perspective?
I'll tell you in the preview. But I think Klopp's pressing game could be too much for Chelsea.
Okay. So that was the week that was?
That was that. The week that was, what was that?
That was the week that was. That was the week that was. Thanks very much for watching. If you have any comments, leave them in the comment section below. And again, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.